IAS Academy.
Hello all, welcome to IAS Academy and welcome back to the program Editorial Daily, where we deal with editorial analysis which enriches your perspective and enhances your answer rating. So let's get started with our today's session. So today we are going to discuss a crucial policy dilemma which is shaping India's digital economy. Like, can the artificial intelligence drive truly the inclusive growth, or will it exacerbate the existing socio-economic fractures? So the article is the AI's next test, which is reaching India's informal women workers. So as India moves towards its Vikshit Bharat mission of 2047 Vikshit Bharat, that is the developed nation status, what India is striving for. So the productivity gains which have been unlocked by this AI across the what you call across the sectors like agriculture, healthcare, the logistics, and the financial services are central. So, however, the key question raised by the policy leaders is whether these gains will be broadly shared or the concentrated among those who are already well served. This is what the question has been raising. Okay, now when we look into the core problem, the what is the baseline reality of the women's work in this article is to understand this AI impact. We must first look at who makes up the backbone of India's workforce. Who makes up the backbone of India's workforce? This is what we have to see first. Okay, now so, when we see the workforce demographics in India, according to a 2018 International Labor Organization report, which is cited in the text, which is cited in this article, is about 82% of the working women in India are in the informal sector employment. Okay, so coming to the sectoral background, if we see these women who work predominantly in those women who work predominantly in the agriculture, the home based production, the domestic services, and the micro enterprises. All these constitute to 82%. These are the informal sector employments. Okay. Now, coming to the agricultural concentration, specifically if we see the periodic labor force survey, which is given on 2023 to 2024, the periodic labor force survey PLFS in 2023-2024 highlights that 76.9% of the rural working women are engaged in the agriculture, making them a primary constituency for tech driven interventions. Okay, so if these AI solutions do not account for the informal, rural, and home based workers, they risk excluding the majority of the working women. When these AI tools are intentionally designed around the needs of the rural women, the adoption and engagement levels are remarkable. So, the article with the reference a 2024 case study, 2024 case study, where on the farmer chat, an AI agricultural advisor tool which is deployed across the 12 Indian states. So what is the impact of it? It is 61 percentage. 61% of women users has reported on improved quality of life within the 45 days, within 45 days of usage of that AI tool. Okay, now this women's engagement levels were 2 to 3 times higher than those of the male users. So why did this happen? Basically, it was magic, we can consider it, because it came down to tailor the design features that has been factored in the local language or the vernacular interface, and the accommodations for the local land access patterns and the mobility constraints, and also the direct contextual relevances to everyday agricultural tasks. Okay, so this is why it is important. So the three areas for the focused action, if we see, they scale these isolated success across the national economy. The authors outline three core governance priorities. What are those? First is the gender impact assessments and the gender responsive budgeting, and also the second one is the AI literacy as public infrastructure, and the third thing is digital safety as an economic precondition. These are the three core possibilities the government has taken up. Okay, let us see this article in a descriptive way and let us understand these three core concepts in a detailed manner. Let's see. Yes, the topic is reaching India's informal women worker. So the author of this article is S. Krishnan, the Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, and Shoko Ishviva, who is the country representative UN Women India and part of Team UN in India. Okay, now let's see the context of the topic. As India accelerates the adoption of artificial intelligence, the true measure of progress will be whether informal women workers who from the backbone or who form the backbone of the economy can access and benefit from AI enabled tools and the opportunities. Okay, this is the context of the topic. When we look into the syllabus of the topic, we can link this article to our GS paper 2 in the governance, government policies and the interventions issues relating to the development. And for GS paper 3 also we can link this article to the inclusive growth, information technology, skill development, empowerment of women. Okay, now let us look into the core concept of the article. First is the AI engagement and the governance priorities. In that, the first is the target engagement. When the AI agricultural tools has accommodated the language, the land access patterns, and the mobility constraints, the women showed the meaningful engagement. Women showed meaningful engagement. So, coming to the gender impact assessment, if we could see under the India AI governance guidelines, the proportionate gender impact assessment should be operationalized for AI systems which is affecting the economic opportunity, welfare access, or safety. So these must evaluate the outcomes by sex, location, caste, disability and the work status. So to ensure the explainability for the decisions which are regarding the credit, employment, or the welfare. Okay. Now, when we see this gender responsive budgeting, if we see for a significant AI spend, which is spending decisions must specify, the spending decisions must specify the which woman is benefiting and which barriers like access, language, the safety capability are addressed, and how the outcomes are measured, and which budget lines fund corrections if results have fall short. Okay, this is what the AI engagement and the governance priorities we have to look into. Next, AI literacy as the public infrastructure. In this also, when you come to the contextual training, the AI literacy must be treated as a public infrastructure. Public infrastructure, that is training programs for the informal women workers, need to accommodate the time constraints and literacy levels and the livelihood context also. Okay, now the next is leveraging the existing schemes. Like the AI literacy should be embedded within the schemes which are already available, like the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, which is the National Rural Livelihood Mission, and also the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, which is a skill, and also the Skill India. Okay, by all these schemes, and it should be linked to the Mission Shakti's Saki network. Also, it has to be linked so that it will be easy for the what you call informal women workers to learn about this AI. Okay, next, outcome based success metrics. When we see the outcome based metrics, the success should be measured by whether the training helps a woman access the entitlements, navigate the digital platforms, or move into the better paid work. This is what we have to measure the success of. Okay, next, the next is digital safety as a precondition for participation. However, like see, first is mitigating the chilling effects, like the technology which is facilitated under this gender based violence, that is like deep fakes, rather it be the online harassments and non consensual imaginary, which creates a chilling effect that discourages the women from practicing in digital spaces. Okay, participating in the digital spaces. Next, coming to the regulatory safeguards, how can we regulate all these concerns of the women is includes the existing and proposed mechanisms like IT Amendment Rules 2021 and the grievance processes, and also the Ministry of MEITYS and the proposed mandatory labeling of AI generated synthetic contexts, and also the review of the cyber laws by the National Commission for Women. Okay, these are the regulatory safeguards which we can take up. Next, accessible remedies, like the effective implementation requires the accessible survivor which is facing remedies in the regional language. Okay, next is infrastructure and long-term goals. Coming to this perspective, if we see the digital ecosystem, if we consider, India has established a foundational infrastructure, which is including the Indian AI machine, the Bhashini, which is the multilingual platform, and AI governance guidelines, and the event platform like the Indian AI Summit, Impact Summit of 2026. The India has created this infrastructure. Now, coming to the inclusion at the base, if we see the productivity gains must reach the informal workers at the base of the economic pyramid, like the women farmers, the home-based workers, and self-help group member platform participants. Okay, so through procurement standards, the safety frameworks, and the targeted training, we can achieve this. Okay, yes. So at a glance, if we see this article, AI must be inclusive and the gender responsive, and the AI literacy is essentially a public infrastructure, and the digital safety is critical for women's participation. And however, existing infrastructure must benefit the informal women workers. And also, the goal is meaningful access aligned with the Vikshit Bharat by 2047. Okay, now when we deep dive into this article, if we can see the key enables for the inclusive AI, the first is the, as I told you before, the gender impact assessments, which is operationalized, the proportionate assessments for the AI system, which is affecting the economic opportunity, welfare access, or the safety, and also evaluate the outcomes by the sex, location, caste, disability, and the work status of the woman, and also ensures the it ensures the explainability for decision on credit, employment, or the welfare. Okay, next is the gender responsive budgeting. When coming to this, a specific which women benefit from the AI spending, and also identify and address the barriers like the access, language, might be the safety, capability, and all, and also measure the outcomes clearly and ring-fence the budget lines for corrections if results fall short. Okay, now when we see the AI literacy as a public infrastructure, and another key enabler, the contextual training for the informal women workers, and the embedded within the DAY, DAY NRLM, and DDU, GKY Skill India. All this we have, I mean, the Deen Dayal programs which we have discussed about, those are linked to the Mission Shakti, which is to the Saki network. Okay, and the outcome based metrics also gives you the entitlements, the digital access, and the better paid work. Okay, now coming to the digital safety as a precondition, if we see, address the technology facilitated gender based violence, which is the deep fakes, online harassment, NCCA, NCII, etc., and use the IT Amendment Rules Act of 2021, that is AI content labeling, cyber law reforms, and all, and ensure the accessible savior facing remedies in the regional languages. So the AI governance must be intentionally inclusive and intersectional to ensure that the technology serves as a force multiplier for women economic empowerment. Okay, now when you see AI for women workers, the potentials and the impact areas, if we could see for women especially, coming to the agriculture, the women who are working in agriculture, they have, if they have the AI advisories in the local languages for crop planning, market prices, then climate updates, it would be very helpful for them. And next, in the financial inclusion also, this AI enabled credit scoring can be seen, the fraud detection, and the personalized financial products also can be taken up. Okay, next, skills and livelihoods. Obviously, they can build up their skills like AI powered learning paths for upskilling their work, job matching, and the entrepreneurship support also they can take up from using this AI. Okay, next, health and well-being. A chatbots, AI chatbots, and the tech health for the maternal health, nutrition, and the mental well-being support also they can have. Next, safety and security. AI tools for the safety alerts, location tracking, and early risk detection also it is very much important for women. Next, access to the schemes. So this AI driven last mile delivery and the grievance redressals to ensure the welfare accesses. So technology is meaningful only when it improves the daily lives and dignity of women workers. Okay, now when we look into the way forward and a few challenges, if we see, first we'll see the way forward. We can tell that institutionalize the gender responsive AI governance, like make the gender impact assessments and the gender responsive budget mandatory for the significant AI projects, and also scale the AI literacy through the public system, like embedded within the existing livelihood and skilling schemes, and use the blended local language and context aware models. Okay, and strengthen the digital safety architecture by enforcing the existing laws and the fast track regulatory reforms and ensure the accessible remedies for survivors. Okay, next, leverage the procurement and partnership, like use the government procurement, CSR, and the public private partnership to support the women centric AI solutions. Okay, now this is the way forward which we can give up for this article. When we look into the key challenges to address from this article is the time poverty. Obviously, the unpaid care and the household work has no limit time available for training and the digital engagement. And next is language and literacy barrier. Many tools are in English centric, and are not adopted to the local language yet. So a low literacy has to be needs. A low literacy needs are been there. Next, safety and social norms. When coming to the mobility constraints and the online harassment and the social norms has restricts the daily participation. Next, the connectivity and the device gaps, like limited internet access in the rural areas, the shared devices, and high data costs highest the adoption. These are the key challenges from this article. Okay, now when we look into the conclusion of the topics, the India's AI journey will be truly successful only when the gain reaches the women who sustain our economy in informal work. So, by 2047, the measure of our success must be whether these women have meaningful, safe, and productive access to the AI enabled tools, opportunities, and services, and advancing the inclusive growth and realizing the vision of Vikshit Bharat. Okay, this is about this article completely. And there are few main questions from this mains analysis. If we can see from this article, the first one is discuss the AI governance in India. Why are gender impact assessments critical for inclusive outcomes? Explain. Okay, next, examine the role of gender responsive budgeting and in AI adoption and welfare delivery. Okay, and the third question is how can the AI literacy be designed as public infrastructure for the informal women workers? Okay, next, analyze the link between the digital safety and women's participation in the digital economy. And next question is evaluate the initiatives and the institutional mechanism supporting the women centric AI. Next, the thing is critically examine how AI can advance the gender equality and support the India's goal for Vikshit Bharat by 2047. These are the few questions which have been framed from this article in the mains perspective. So understand this article properly, read this article 1 to 2 times, and try to write these answers, and send us in the telegram so that we can evaluate your answers and give you the feedback. Okay, yes, let's move on to the next article. Yes, the next article for today and the today's discussion which focuses on the corporate average fuel efficiency, that is CAFE, corporate average fuel efficiency, the norms, which is specifically the power ministry's july 16th july 16th draft notification for the CAFE 3. CAFE 3. Okay, so the article is Beyond the Compliance, India Road to Cleaner Mobility. Okay, so India is currently transitioning from the traditional internal combustion engines, that is the ICE, to the electrified powertrains. So this transition isn't it just an environmental goal, it is directly tied to the macroeconomic stability of our country, that is the energy security and the geopolitical risks management due to India's heavy reliance on the imported crude oil. So the main core question from this which we can take up is, do the proposed CAFE 3 standards truly drive the technology transformation, or do they simply offer the flexible avenues for the regulatory compliances? This is what the main question it is coming up. When you see this global context, if we understand, to understand this CAFE standards, we must look at how other major auto markets has utilized this regulatory mandate to shape their industries. Okay, now when we say the United States, the CAFE has established in 1975. The CAFE in the USA has been established in 1975. So it has introduced post 1973 the Arab oil embargo to cut the oil dependency. So it has evolved in the 1990s and 2000s, which is the CAFE merged with the EPA. CAFE is merged with the EPA, greenhouse gas targets, under the Clean Air Act of USA. Okay, so what is the impact of this transition is the regulatory push has combined with the targeted government banking. Example, if we take the 2010, it has been in 2010 approximately it has $455 of $1 million of ATVM loan to Tesla. Okay, so which has accelerated the modern EV shift. Okay, now when you see the China has adopted dual credit system. Basically, when we see the origins of this CAFE implemented in China, it is introduced mandatory fuel consumption standards in 2004. In 2004 only, it has been implemented to combat the surging oil imports and the urban air pollution. Okay, what is the shift of this dual credit in China in 2018 is this automakers must earn both CAFCs, that is the fuel consumption, and the NEV, that is the new energy vehicles, NEVs, the new energy vehicle credits, which has the companies as lagging in this EV output must purchase the credits from the EV heavy manufacturers. This is what the double credit is. Shift to double credit in 2018 for China is. Okay. Now, what is the outcome of it? By 2005, by 2025, China has accounted for almost 55% of the global electricals or sales, which is compared to approximately 27% of Europe and 10% of the USA and 4% of in India. Okay, now when we have this clear glance of this global thing in the what you call the USA and the China, if we have seen, and then when we see into the mechanics of this CAFE 3 in India, the CAFE in India has targeting the CAFE in India targets apply to manufacturers sales weighted average fuel efficiency across the entire fleet rather than the individual vehicle models. The what is the target of reduction? Why are we taking up this CAFE 3 and all means? The CAFE 3 seeks to reduce the average flat emissions from 113 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer. Just a second, I'll write somewhere. Yes, to reduction of approximately 113 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer to 77 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer by financial year 2031 to 2032. This is the target of reduction in India. Okay, now coming to the small car exemption which has been removed. Earlier proposals has sought the exemptions for the lighter and the smaller cars, but current data drafts which has applied the target across the fleets evenly, not considering the smaller vehicles, lighter vehicles and all, it is including all the vehicles. Okay, now when we see the cost flexibility, why the critics are arguing this CAFE 3 is diluted? Well, the headline has targeted that the 77 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometers seems ambitious, but severe built-in flexibility mechanisms sustainably reduces its effective strictness. Okay, this is what the argument is going about. Okay, this is basically a debate over India's proposed corporate average fuel efficiency, that is CAFE 3. Okay, let us see this article in a complete detailed way. Yes, the topic is Beyond the Complies, India's Road to Cleaner Mobility. And coming to the focus of the editorial, if we see Beyond the Complies, India Road to Cleaner Mobility. And the context of this article is basically the debate is over India proposed corporate average fuel efficiency, that is CAFE 3 norms, which comes at a critical transitions from internal combustion engines, that is ICEs, to the electric powertrains, which is impacting the investment, technology choices, and the energy security. Okay, this is the main context of this article. When we look into the syllabus, how can we link this article to our syllabus? Is we can link this article to GS paper 2, which is the government policies and the interventions for the development in various sectors and the issues which is arising out of their design and implementation. And also we can link this article to GS paper 3, which is the energy security, consumption, environmental pollution, conservation, and the degradation sustainable development. Okay, now look into the core concept of this topic. If we see, when we look into the core concept, coming to the first one, the context of CAFE 3 norms. That is the strategic importance. If we see, it comes at a critical time as the auto industry transitions from ICE electric powertrains, which is impacting the investment, technology choices, and the energy security. Coming to the draft notification, if we see, the Power Ministry has released a draft notification on July 16, attempts a compromise after months of industry lobbying. Okay, next, coming to the global precedents, if we see the US model, which is introduced in 1975, the post-oil embargo to reduce the oil dependence, and the expanded in the 1990s for the carbon greenhouse gases emission reduction. Okay, now when we see the China's dual credit system, which is introduced in 2018, which combines this SAFCs and the NEV, the new electric vehicles credit requirements, which is penalizing the delayed electrification. So in 2025, the electric cars has accounted for almost 55% of China's new passenger vehicle sales, when compared to approximately 27% in Europe and approximately 10% of USA and 4% approximately 4% in India. Okay, next, CAFE 3 targets and industry divides. If we see the targeted reduction, the framework aims to reduce the average vehicle emissions from approximately 113 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer to 77 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer by the financial year 2031 to 32. This is the main target reduction aim of this the CAFE 3 targets. Okay, next, coming to the industry stance, if we see the divergence between the legacy like this ICE internal combustion engines, heavy automakers, example the Maruti Suzuki, and the EV focused manufacturers like example Tata Motors and Mahindra, if we take. So the impact example, if we see, the Maruti Suzuki couldn't remain an EV credit deficit by 18% despite the full efficient ICE models if the EV adoption is absent. Okay, now moving on to the next point of flexibility mechanics and mechanism and the diluting regulation, and that the first one is the carbon neutrality factor, which grants the compliance benefits for ethanol blended compatibility through the policy beyond E20, that is 20% of ethanol blended in the normal petrol of 80%. Okay, which is undecided yet. So ethanol is more expensive than the petrol with a lower energy density. Okay, next, coming to the super credits, the additional weight to battery EVs, plug-in hybrids, the strong hybrids, and the flexi fuel vehicles, allowing the fewer actual low emission vehicles to offset the higher emission models. Okay, next, credit banking and bonds. Basically, it permits the banking, trading, and the direct purchase of the compliance credits from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency at a fixed administrative prices. Coming to the prices which have been given is the beyond prices is 2,500 per gram of carbon dioxide per kilometer. In financial year 2028 is rising to 4,500 by the financial year 2032. So are much cheaper than the non-compliance penalties under the Energy Conservation Act, that is 25,000 to 50,000 per vehicle. Okay, next, coming to the compliance averaging, which is allowing the multi-year averaging across the 3-year blocks, which is shifting to 2-year blocks. 3-year blocks is now shifting to 2-year blocks, which is enabling the manufacturers to delay the targets. Okay, next is market shaping versus the regulatory accommodations. If we see the lesson from CNG, this policy clarity and the regulatory certain previously drove the rapid manufacturer adoption of this CNG varieties in India. And also the lack of ambition, if we see, the revised regulation targets attempt only half of what the industry itself has voluntarily committed to. So voluntary targets average is approximately 20% of EV share by 2030, with the OEMs aiming for 30% plus. Okay, when we see at a glance, the target has reduced emissions from 113 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer to 77 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer has been reduced, should be reduced by the financial year 2031 to 2032. So the global EV share, if we see in 2025, China has achieved 55% of EVs, whereas Europe has 27%, US has 10%, and India has 4%. Okay, now coming to the beyond prices, also 2,500 per gram of carbon dioxide per kilometer by financial year 2028. When coming to financial year 2032, it will rise to 4,500 per gram of carbon dioxide per kilometer. Okay, yes. And also industry voluntary targets like approximately 20% of the EV share by 2030, and OEMs aim for approximately more than 30%. Okay, now when we see the flexibility mechanisms and the diluting regulations of this, if we see that the first one is carbon neutrality factor. Carbon neutrality factor, which grants the compliance benefits for ethanol blend compatibility even through the policy beyond the E20, that is blending of ethanol 20% with the 80% of petrol, which remains undecided. So ethanol is more expensive than the petrol and has low energy density. Okay, now coming to the super credits, it gives the additional weight to the battery EVs, plug-in hybrids, strong hybrids, and the flexi fuel vehicles, and allows the fewer actual low emission vehicles to offset the higher emission models. Okay, next, credit banking and bonds. It permits the banking, trading, and the direct purchase of the compliance credits from the BEE at fixed administrative prices. As we discussed, the beyond prices of 2,500 per gram of carbon dioxide per kilometer in the financial year 2028, and also raising to 4,500 by the financial year 2032. Okay, which is much cheaper than the non-compliance penalties under the Energy Conservation Act, which is approximately 25,000 to 50,000 per vehicle. Okay, now coming to the compliance averaging, it allows the multi-year averaging across three-year blocking shifting to 2-year blocking, and also enables the manufacturers to delay the compliance and postpone the deep structural changes. So the greater the flexibility should not weaken the core objective of reducing the emission. Okay, yes. Why the stronger CAFE norms matter, basically, why this basically matters means, first, in the energy security, it reduces the dependency on the imported crude oil and the enhance the national energy security, and also reduces the oil imports. Lower the oil imports bill, improves the current account balance, and it shields the economy from price volatility. Okay, next, low carbon emissions. It helps India to meet its climate commitments and contribute to the global emission goals. And also cleaner urban air. It reduces the vehicular pollution, improving the public health and quality of life. Next, technology innovation. It also incentivizes the R&D, improves the efficiency and accelerates the innovation in the mobility. Okay, coming to the global competitiveness also, it aligns India with the global standards, attracting the investors and the boosting industry competitiveness. These are all factors which we can say this CAFE norms are very much important. So the strong fuel efficiency standard driven innovation, sustainability and the economic resilience. Okay. Now, when we look into the way forward for this article, if we could see, basically it target and tighten the cave 3 targets, like set the ambitions, time bound targets aligned with the global best practices and India's energy security needs. Okay, next, gradually phase out the excessive super credit relaxations, like ensure the credit complement, not substitute real emission reductions. Okay, next, promote the EV ecosystem and charging infrastructure, like building the robust charging networks which are easily available, like the petrol bunks and battery supply chains and the consumer incentives. Okay, next, align the standards with the India Glasgow committees, like it strengthen the CAFE norms to support the net zero pathways and sustainable mobility transitions. Okay, now the key challenges from for this, if we see, the first is industry resistance. So the legacy of this OEMs has worry about the compliance cost, technology transition, and the impact on the profitability. Okay, next, slow EV adoption, high upfront costs, limited model availability, and range anxiety, which has been persisting. Next, infrastructure gaps. Obviously, the insufficient charging infrastructure, the grid capability, and the battery recycling systems also is the major basic challenge. Next, policy uncertainty. It is the frequent change and the lack of long-term clarity can discourage the investment and innovation. These are the few key challenges which we can take up. Okay. Now, when we look into the conclusion of the topic, if we see, the market shaping regulation, which gives a strong CAFE norms, can transform the market and drive the low carbon mobility. And also consistency, clarity, and the stringent enforcement build the industry confidence. And also strengthening the local capabilities in batteries and components and the critical minerals. And also it lowers the imports and improve the economic stability and the what you call the currency resilience in our country. And also cleaner mobility is essential for inclusive growth and the environmental stewardship. Okay, yes, this is the conclusion which we can give out for this article. Okay, now there are few questions here, if you could see, examine the CAFE norms as an the instrument of climate governance and the energy security of for India. Examine and also discuss the regulation versus industry flexibility in the achieving emission reduction goals. And also analyze the EV transition in India and its impact on mobility and energy landscape. This is one more question. And another question which we can see is evaluate the CAFE 3 framework in the context of India's net zero and energy efficiency goals. And also discuss the role of the policy certainty in the promoting green investments and innovation. And also examine how this cleaner mobility which contributes to the sustainable development and public well-being. Okay, and yes, these are the two articles which we have discussed today. I hope everyone liked this video. To get a detailed PDF of it, do visit our website and download it from there. And also do like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more editorial analysis. And do follow our Instagram and Telegram channel for your UPSC preparation. All the links are provided in the description below. Don't forget to write the answers which we are giving after each topic, the 5 questions which we are mentioning, which is very much helpful for your mains answer writing, so that it would be easy to write the answers if you write it in a daily basis. Okay, so yes, see you all soon with tomorrow editorial analysis. Thank you.